All right, y'all, I got another little Beretta thing to show off this time. So I've actually had this conversion kit with me for quite a little whiles now, but it was pretty hard to find a threaded barrel for it. And after I got my suppressor, I wanted to put a threaded barrel on pretty much everything that I possibly could. So what we're going to talk about is this piece of hardware right here. This is a Beretta 92 series, full size, 22 LR conversion upper, I guess, slide, kit, thing, whatever you want to call it. So the original one I ordered forever ago did not have the threaded barrel, but I was able to find one on Beretta's website. They thankfully came in stock relatively recently, at least at the time. They're probably out of stock now, and decided to buy it. So I have used most of my time with this kit has been with a unthreaded barrel, but works basically the same. So in that kit, it comes in actually a really nice box. I don't have it with me right now, but pretty decent sized cardboard box, and it's got a foam cutout in there, of course, for your slide here. And it also comes with a magazine, of course, because you need different magazines, of course, to run your 22 LR in your Beretta 90 series pistol. So this, of course, only works with the full size because the compact frames or the Centurion frames have slightly different geometry on the inside of their slide rails, so that unfortunately will not work with this. And I'm not aware of a 22 upper that goes with the Centurion or compact size pistols, so it's only for the full size, full size. And this is not to be mistaken either for the dedicated M9, what Beretta calls the M9 22 pistols. Those are entirely different. Their insides and everything are way different. Like the mag wells, for instance, are not open mag wells like this. They're actually very constricted and tight, and they use different magazines even from this. They don't use the conversion slide magazines. They use their own dedicated magazines. So don't think those are compatible, because they absolutely are not. Which is a shame, because they really should be the same thing. I really think that Beretta should just take their standard frames, their standard 92 frames like this, and just ship it with their already producing, conversion kits, and just put that on there and made it together and have everything be nice and compatible. But they don't do that. So it's probably some weirdness with Umarex, because, of course, with a lot of 22 things that are made in Europe, Umarex seems to be a really big name, and this is absolutely no exception. This is definitely made by Umarex, or Umarex, or however you pronounce it. That company, the company that owns Walther, right? So it even says UX right there on the barrel. So yeah, it even says right there on the slide too, made in Germany by Umarex. So whatever Beretta contract is with them to make these things, like I said, this conversion thing is not compatible in any way whatsoever with the dedicated M922 ones. So don't get that confused. Now, for compatibility with regular 90 series pistols, right? I have a Beretta M9 here, or pretty much a 92 FS clone, copy, basically. Well, not really a clone. It is, 90 series pistol, right? Standard 90 series pistol, caliber 9mm, right? Now, I've also got my Beretta 96 A1 that I've tricked out here, this one. This is in 40 cal, of course, but you'll be happy to know this conversion kit fits on either the 40 cal or the 9mm version. So it doesn't matter, it'll fit both, which is awesome. So yeah, so that is pretty cool. The magazines come in two flavors. You have your, let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, here we go. They are not distinguished in any way visually between the 15 and the 10 round magazines. Obviously the 10 round magazines are for band states, and the 15s are for free people like me. But there's no indication anywhere on these magazines that tells which one is which. You just kind of have to know if you're ordering it from online or some other retailer, right? You kind of have to ask and know, because I don't necessarily think the packaging is marked either. But an easy way to tell if you are able to get hands-on is, of course, test the magazine. If this follower only goes down that far, that's a 10 round magazine. And if the follower goes obviously all the way down, that's a 15 round magazine. So pretty simple. Is it possible to modify the 10 rounders to 15 rounders? I believe so, yes, but I was not able to do that myself. It seemed a little bit of pain in the ass, frankly. So whether or not it's worth it to you to do that, this one just came with a 10-round magazine because that's what was available at the time. So if you can find a conversion kit that has 15 rounders, then by all means go for it. Now another great thing with these is, unlike a lot of other 22 style conversion kits and things that go on pistols, this actually has a last round bolt hold open feature. So if I can get this one to work, cooperate, maybe that one won't, but it will. It's supposed to, anyways. Lock open. Of course, I can't get it to work here on camera, but I absolutely assure you that the lock open feature does work on these magazines. Man, this is really not cooperating. Anyway, I can point it to you here and show you why that works. Okay, so follower is right here. That's what the slide catches on. So if these magazines wanted to cooperate, and they do when they're firing, it locks open on empty. And that's a nice feature because not a lot of 22 conversions or really 22 firearms in general have that. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, I absolutely do assure you it does lock back because it does for me when I shoot it. Now, the controls and feel of everything is going to be exactly the same on your regular 90 series pistol. I will say though, the safety decocker here is a little stiff and kind of crunchy feeling. It feels cheap, but that's probably due to the nature of the construction and materials they use in this. It's not meant to be the same, durability as your standard slide. You're not going to be going through war with this, but it does work. But it still feels like I'm like bending the decocker. It feels like I'm gonna break it. It doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence. It's very, very mushy, very spongy, but that's probably also due to the internal design is just going to be a little bit different here. So if you can see in the back of the slide there, it won't focus, but on the back there you can see obviously the firing pin has to be off to the side just a little bit in order to get the rimfire to work properly and things like that. So the internal mechanism is of course going to be a little bit different to facilitate firing 22. So, and then of course I guess the top of the slide here, the inner workings of the bolt, if you will, are also a little bit different. It's kind of hard to see here, but you can kind of see the face there, the bolt face, if you want to call it slide face. Right there is, of course, machined just a little bit differently from your standard slide, to facilitate firing 22. No big surprise. So, but yeah, it's this control is just a little crunchy, and it's hard even for me to do this with my thumb here, versus my standard pistol, which is very easy to do, just on and off, just like that, very simple. Not so much on the conversion side. Cool. Accuracy. So accuracy on this is actually about on par with your standard slide. It's not necessarily going to be like Mark IV levels of super duper accurate or your fancy 22 target guns, but for its intended purpose, which I think is going to be a trainer for a 90 series pistol, the accuracy is perfectly acceptable. No issues with it whatsoever. Even with these cheapo plastic sights here, these sights are very, very plastic and very cheap feeling and very cheap looking. I guess as is the standard with some Umarex products. Yeah, I'm not too thrilled by those, but these are replaceable, so that's nice. Yeah, so standard 3-dot sight like this. My front sight is bent just a little bit because it's plastic, so something must have bumped into it at some point. But yeah, as far as like 25-yard accuracy, yeah, I'm getting 2 3-inch groups, 4-inch groups, maybe depending on the ammo. If you're using really cheap crap ammo, obviously the accuracy is going to decrease. But yeah, just on this regular old M9 frame, I'm getting very decent accuracy out of this. So it absolutely is capable of being a good trainer, just how you need it. As far as for shooting the feel of it, obviously this is a big heavy frame for a 22. Recoil is absolutely minimal. It's nothing at all. It's quite fun, actually. If you like shooting like a Mark IV, for instance, or like maybe another heavier target pistol like my old Mark II there with the big bull barrel, it feels very similar to this. This feels very similar to that, I should say. But yeah, shooting experience, very pleasurable. As far as reliability goes, with 22, of course, it's dependent largely on the ammo. Some ammos are more reliable than others. Some are higher quality than others, of course. So it really does depend on the ammo that you're using. I will say, though, I will caution. For instance, my M9 is unmodified, so it has standard springs in it. My 96, however, has the D spring in it, the D hammer spring, which gives it a lighter double-action trigger pull. That's not good for reliable ignition for 22 conversions like this. You need that extra hammer spring weight in order to more reliably set off the rim. So I discovered that the hard way. I had tons and tons and tons of light strikes on my 96, although they were remedied by just pulling the trigger again. But if you're trying to make your gun work smoothly in the way that it's intended to be, D springs are not the way to go. What else? So trying it with a suppressor, that was a definitely interesting experience, which I need to make another video on that later. Shooting suppressed with 90 series pistols like this, I will say not the most pleasurable thing in the world, honestly. I made the mistake of loading up a whole 15-round magazine full of stingers and put my suppressor on it, and I'm out there at the range doing my thing, shoot, and every shot with that, because of this design, right? So it's completely open like this. So obviously, when you get a lot of powerful 22 rounds like stingers, right, high velocity rounds, there is a lot of force that is going to push back on this direct blowback system, because there is no toggle lever in here. There's no falling lever, block like the regular slide. This is a direct blowback operation, right? So all of that comes out the back, right? So just as much stuff that goes forward comes out the back, and that includes powder and crud and carbon and all kinds of nastiness comes flying out the back of this gun. And guess where your face is? Oh yeah, that's right. It's directly behind the barrel right there. So every single shot I was taking with high velocity ammo like that was just blowing tons of crud in my face. It felt like as if someone was taking like hot oil from like a pan and just flicking it on my face like this every time I shot, and it was just like, this is mildly unpleasant, to say the least. That being said, though, it did function. It did cycle perfectly. Accuracy was fine. It shot very, very well with the suppressor. I mean, just as well as it did, without. So that's a big bonus in my book, because there are some guns that do not react very well with having a muzzle device on them. So thankfully, this is not one. So when I switched to subsonic ammunition like Aguila sniper subs or CCI standard velocity ammo or any other subsonic ammo, it was an absolute pussycat. I was not getting all that crud blown back in my face. I was still getting some around, like, my hand here, just kind of falling out of the action and kind of making things a little more dirty in the face of the gun and inside the magazine well, because it is a blowback, of course, so a lot of it's going to get back there. Especially with the suppressor, it gets even more dirty. But with subsonic and standard velocity ammo, with a suppressor, I think that is the way to go with this. And it did cycle all of my subsonic ammo. Obviously, it didn't cycle something like a Colibri or intentionally underpowered rounds like your CCI quiets. Now, there's a CCI quiet suppressor version, of course, which will cycle, but the version that I had was like a 40 grain bullet, I think going like 700 feet a second or something like that. Really, really intentionally low-powered stuff. Obviously, it will not cycle a semi-automatic blowback action, even with the suppressor. Colibris, of course, don't cycle anything, and it certainly was the case here as well. It was comically quiet, though, when and it's also actually easy to single load Colibris, because the chamber is open like this. You can just put it in there, close it up, and fire. Even at 10 yards with this, it couldn't even penetrate my paper target. So I thought that was pretty funny. It was honestly, it was hard to tell if it even went off, because the sound of the hammer hitting or the gun going off, basically the hammer hitting the action here, like that, was louder than the gun going off. And I was like, did it shoot? So I had to manually verify that it did in fact shoot, and there was not a squib in the barrel, because Colibris are notorious for that. So, opened it up, made sure there's nothing in it, checked the barrel, and we're good. So yeah, tons of fun though with subsonic and standard velocity ammo. That is absolutely the call to go with this. So, however, if you do not have the threaded barrel version of this, and don't make the mistake that some people do, there is a threaded barrel or other barrels available for the dedicated M922. Those do not fit the conversion slides, so don't make that mistake. Don't think like, oh yeah, it'll fit either one because it's sold separately. No, it does not. So, yes, so with or without the threaded barrel, these 22 upper conversion kits work very, very well, and I'm very happy to have it. It's a really, really nice thing to be able to introduce people to the M9, because a lot of people say, oh, I want to try the handgun that the military uses, right? And of course, you have your SIGs and your M17s and M18s and all that stuff and whatever. But the M9 is obviously way more iconic than that. So if someone's just new to guns and they just want to try the shooting experience, having a nice 22 upper kit like this is super awesome because it gets them really familiar with it, and low cost. They have all the fun in the world that they want. And I gotta admit, with a suppressor on this, it looks freaking cool, and it's a lot of fun. People like when I had it on at the range, everyone was looking at just like, oh, he's got that assassin gun. Oh yeah, look at him, he's so cool. Maybe they weren't saying that, but some people were making comments like that, and I thought that was amusing, and I was like, hey, you guys want to try it? But yeah, it's great conversation piece too. And of course, another benefit that I didn't even mention is if you have a hyper custom, like tricked out 92 lower, and you just want to have all the same trigger pull and everything else, you can absolutely do that instead of having to buy like the dedicated M922, which has not really customizable hardly anything on it. So if you still want to get those reps in with your with your training and getting better with your 90 series pistol, and you want to keep all the trimmings here on the frame, well, you can get this upper, and there you go. So obviously it's not going to have the same recoil impulse as 9mm or 40 cal, even if you're still shooting that. But I don't think people are really confused about what a 22 conversion like this is for. So yeah, I highly recommend it if you can find one and you're a fan of 90 series Beretta pistols like I am. I've got like 3 of the things now. Absolutely nice little piece of kit and equipment, and you can start getting into that little territory, that niche territory of having 22 conversion kits for your guns, because there are other pistol series and things that are way harder to get and way more expensive. I'm looking at you, CZ and 1911 kits. Okay, those can get pretty freaking expensive if you've ever looked up like a Cadet 2, for example, for CZ pistols, or you look up like original Colt Aces or other old-timey conversion kits for 1911s to shoot 22. Man, they are complicated and they are expensive. Versus this, which is just a simple slide and magazine change. Super nifty. So anyway, I thought I'd bring that to you guys, especially now that I have the threaded barrel on here and I have a whole lot of suppressor fun with it. And I can live out shooting a suppressed M9 90 series pistol, without having to get a big heavy, weight, I guess, and do another tax stamp for a 9mm suppressor can, of course, So it's a nice piece of kit to have. But yeah, thought I'd bring it to you guys, and if you run across one, definitely try it out. I think it's worth the money. So that's all I gotta say about that, and we'll see you next time.